history and theory of acting, another down and dirty video to get us started on the rest of this semester. I'll try to get you some prettier PowerPoint and such a little bit later. Here goes. By the late 1800s, if you went to see a play, you saw acting that you would probably describe as bad. This was the height of the elocutionary movement, which is a extra credit assignment that you can do. The elocutionary movement largely provided very detailed instructions, just like the ones that are in the graphic for our class on Canvas, of precisely how you were to arrange your body for each type of emotion that someone might feel. I mean, we're talking, those little diagrams for dancing where you've got the footprints and like which way you move your feet for each kind of dance. We have precise descriptions. Things like you must do number 5 if you're feeling angry, but if you're feeling slightly irritated, that's number 7. Really fake, really bad acting, and it led to a lot of performances that were completely inconsistent. A happy day for the leading lady, the diva, might turn in a wonderfully happy performance. If she's pissed off, then the performance might not be so good. Some folks at the Moscow Art Theater, including Konstantin Stanislavski, the founder of modern acting, got to thinking about how do we have theater actually recreate life, as Hamlet says in his advice to the players. And they noticed work that had been done recently by Pavlov. Remember Pavlov, the guy with the bell and the dogs? Every time they fed the dogs, they rang a little bell. And eventually, if you just rang the bell, the dogs would actually salivate, okay? They would have a physical response, even though there's no food in front of them. That's what Stanislavski created for actors. During the process of rehearsal, you create a situation so that you will respond the same way every night in performance. Now, maybe that sounds rather obtuse at the moment. Go back to the things that I mentioned before. You want something, there are certain conditions that you have to operate under. That type of stuff. In your dramatic piece, ask yourself, what do I want? How do I try to get it? That will lead you to a performance time after time that consistently provides us with good acting, as opposed to the garbage that we see a lot of times. So, while I also heartily advise you to check out the chapters in our textbook that I've mentioned in the instructions, be sure you actually read through the stuff I said to read. I want to give you just a couple simple, sort of silly examples. For example, what do you want? What does someone want when they're crying? What is someone trying to actually do? So, for example, if I'm crying, okay, most of the time, I'm not trying to cry. Yeah, okay, every so often somebody might be trying to work it. But what is a human being doing most of the time when they're actually crying? They're trying not to cry. Okay, they are trying, hold it in. That's a very common thing. That's what people actually do in a situation that we might describe as sad. They're not trying to feel sad. They're trying to control the crying. Same thing, somebody's doing a drunk scene, okay? Now, does the drunk person try to slobber and spill their drink? No, that's a terrible performance. What does an actual drunk person try to do? Not spill their drink, okay? Because if I spill my drink, you're going to think that I'm drunk, and I'm not, okay? So I'm going to be very sure to not spill my drink. Same thing with walking a straight line. A drunk person doesn't try to stumble. They try to walk a straight line. And the harder you try to do that, the more you look like you're drunk. It applies to comedy, especially. In comedy, trying to be funny is really annoying and doesn't work. Because what's funny is somebody who is taking something ridiculous very seriously. Okay? That's funny. There's a famous story about Dame Maggie Smith and David Niven, doesn't matter. Apocryphal story, doing a performance, opening night in some sort of British comedy. She asks for a cup of tea. And the audience cracks up. Okay? And she mentions to her co-star a week or so later, she said, the first night I asked for a cup of tea and everyone laughed. And I haven't had a laugh since. No one's laughed at that same line. And David Niven supposedly replied by saying that, my dear, because the first night you asked for a cup of tea. Every night after that, you've asked for a laugh. In that particular play, in that particular situation, the most ridiculous thing in the world would be for someone at that moment to ask for a cup of tea, and so the audience cracked up. Somebody mugging in a comedy, suggesting, hey, I'm doing my funny thing right now, is never funny.